Hey, what's going on, everyone? I want to start things off, obviously, first by saying I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe. You're taking care of like loved ones and other people first before yourself. If you're well and able, and that you're staying inside, self-quarantining as I am. I'm obviously making this video indoors because I don't really want to go outside, and I also can't. It's like raining cats and dogs right now, but yeah, I don't want to talk about it too much. I just want to get that off the bat, but I'm not going to touch on it again because there's already so much about it. But other than that, let's jump into the video. So just to give a bit of a quick backstory before I jump into everything, within the last year, I've really fallen head over heels for film. I love film so much. I've been shooting, frankly, the equal amounts of film as I do with digital, or sometimes even more. And I've been following more people who shoot film, like Willem Verbeek, Corey Wolfenbarger, I think. Some of the big guys like Joe Greer. I just love it. I love the style, and I've adapted it to my film or to my digital style. But with that has come a lot of kind of like hiccups and little misconceptions with like what the switch would be like and some of the things I encountered. So I wanted to pass those tips on to you if you are considering it, because I think it is a phenomenal thing to pick up and it really helps your photography. So just some of the things to know before you go into it, specifically 10, and I want to share those with you now. So my first tip would be focus on colors and lighting primarily, because with digital you can take a picture, you can alter the colors basically however you want. You're working with raw files, the world is your oyster. Whereas with film, the whole point is to utilize the colors of that film stock, whether it be Portra or Ektar or Pro 400H from Fuji. They all have these unique color sets that you need to use to your advantage with the lighting or with the colors in that scene, so they can bring certain things out or tone certain things down. Like Fuji has a more green hue, whereas Portra might be a bit warmer and punchier. So use those things to your advantage rather than changing them all in post. I mean, you can do a bit of editing with higher res files, but try to limit that. So something that I wish I knew when I started film photography and I was still using digital is that try simulating the film photography process, which means only taking a limited number of shots, whether it be 36, 24, 27, only looking through the viewfinder, and even trying to manual focus, because those are all things that go into the film process. You can't check the images afterward. You typically don't have autofocus, like a lot of them are manual focus lenses, and they can be phenomenal lenses as well. So try maybe getting an adapter for your current camera, or get some manual focus lenses for it, some like older vintage ones to understand how they work. And that will make the transition a whole lot easier, because it's not going to go from taking thousands of pictures and being able to look at them afterwards and zoom in to absolutely nothing. So it just makes the transition a bit of an easier, more fluid process, and I think it will help greatly. Now, tip number 3 is a different kind of metering or a different kind of exposure calculation, because you're taught with digital, for the most part, it's always try to expose for the midtones or the shadows, because you can always bring those up. With raw files, they're so detailed these days, you can really do anything. But if you blow out the highlights, you're done for. Like if you check on your histogram, your highlights are completely blown out, you can't bring those back at some points. Whereas film, it's a bit different. You want to actually expose for the shadows, because film has what's called it varies from film to film, but they have what's called latitude, and that's the same thing as dynamic range in a film camera. So different film stocks have different latitudes, meaning that they have more that they can handle on an exposure scale. So if you quote unquote blow out a photo in certain film stocks, it might still look fine, it might still look recoverable in post, even if you go 2, 3, 4 stops over. There's a whole bunch of tests online. There's a guy actually, I'll link him down below, Kyle Mcdougall or Mcdougall, I think. I think it's Mcdougall, but he does a couple of tests on different film stocks, seeing them over and underexposed, and you'll see a lot of them like one stop underexposed, you get muddy shadows and it starts to look a little washed out, whereas like 3, 4 stops overexposed on like especially Portra, sometimes on Ektar, can still look great, or very very recoverable. So yeah, expose for the shadows rather than the highlights as much as it goes against your nature. That's a good one to go by. Alright, so tip number 4 is a little less conventional. It has less to do with like the technicalities and the methods of it all, but more the financial aspect. And that is to make a small budget before you start doing this, because a lot of people are not used to it with digital. Like you buy the camera, you buy the lens, you're good to go. Take as many pictures as you want. Whereas with film, you have to buy the film roll, which can be 10, 20, sometimes $30. Then you have to get it developed, which can also be 15, 20, $30 based on like if you want TIFF or JPEG or prints. And it can really be costly for one roll. Like one shot technically can cost you like upwards of $3, $4. So make sure you have a small budget aside, that you're not just like dumping it all in and you're going, oh my God, like I have to pay for this and get it developed. So it can kind of take you by a bit of a shock, which it did for me. And now going forward, like I know how much things cost and what to budget aside, but just like a small little budget for a couple of rolls at least, that will get you by, because you don't want to be impacted by that a lot. All right, so tip number 5 is keep it simple. Don't use like endless amounts of film stocks. I mean, don't go using 5, 6, 7 different film stocks from when you start off. Pick one or two. Pick like Kodak Portra or Mcdougall or Pro 400H. Learn it, understand it, and see what kind of colors you get from it, and how it works with light and how it works for what you want to do before you move on to anything else, because that'll give you kind of like a fundamental understanding of how like film works, or how that film works, and you can really have a knowledge at least of one stock that you can go back to and really rely on, rather than having a semi-decent knowledge of all these other smaller ones that really won't help you a lot. So stick to one or two, know it, learn it, then move on. So our next tip is also, I guess, a little unconventional. It's not something you would think of, but it really has helped me, and I think will help you. And that's, don't be scared to take a picture of the same shot or the same kind of thing that you're shooting. With digital, we'll take a picture like 7 or 8 times to get different compositions or everything that we want in the frame. Obviously, with film, it's not the exact same. You're not gonna want to take 7 or 8 shots of the same thing. It's still film. But taking like 2 or 3 of the same composition, trying to get it correct or the right way in camera, especially if you're not coming back that location or you don't plan to, that's fine. That's how it should be. You shouldn't be scared to do it, because if you want to get the shot right, maybe that takes 2, 3, maybe even 4 attempts, and then you get the image that you want. So that is a good tip, because you don't really want to waste one good shot, rather than take a couple and get the one that you want. Okay, so tip number 7 is something that you would expect that people would know, and I thought I would know myself, but that's know and understand the camera you're using, whatever it is. If it's a 35mm or a medium format, understand your camera, because like me and many others, I thought I knew my camera. It was basically the same as this. It had a shutter button. It took pictures. And yeah, I ended up with a lot of kind of dud rolls where I had a lot of light leaks and ruined my film, and didn't know how to load it properly. So yeah, understand your camera, how it loads, how it takes pictures, like the type of shutter, if it's like a leaf shutter or like an actual shutter, and all the inner workings of it, because they are mechanical. They have a lot of working components to them, rather than like digital, where it's just housed in an electronic body. So yeah, really understand your camera and how it works for you. Tip number 8 is, it's something that I don't really want to like endorse, but I kind of have to say, and it's don't shoot nighttime photography, and that's at first, because it's a tricky one. There's a lot of stuff going on there, a lot of different lighting situations of very bright highlights and very like dark shadows and different kinds of midtones, and it's and the amount of ambient light you have. So there's a lot to factor in there when you actually start doing it. What I recommend is really understand a couple of different, as I said, film stocks first, and shoot with them during the day, maybe shoot with them indoors or during golden hour or blue hour, to kind of get a feel of how they are in different scenarios. And then once you've done some research and some understanding of how it all works, then move on to nighttime, because even with some of the best, they'll tell you as well that it's not easy. It's not easy to meter. You need a shutter release thing. It's even better if you have a handheld light meter, which most of us don't even have. I still use my phone. So yeah, there's a lot more to consider, and a lot more that could go wrong in nighttime photography. So if you don't want to lose a lot of money off the bat, I recommend not trying it at first. Okay, so we're almost done. We are on the second to last one, number 9, and that is, don't be scared to edit your photos. It kind of probably goes against what a lot of you think or have perceived about film, is that you need to take the colors that are from the film stock, and that's the end of story. And for a lot of people, that is what it is. They want to just accept it, take it, and not touch it. But I think for a lot of us, especially you'll see with a lot of popular film YouTubers like Willem Verbeek or Corey Wolfenbarger or Joe Greer, they'll still edit the photos that they get back. They'll get TIFF files. They'll have a bit more room to play with, and they'll edit them because they want to achieve the look that is unique to them. And if that means just retouching or moving a couple of things around, that's fine. If you're moving the temperature over a bit, or you're changing the saturation and the vibrance bit, not to an extent where it's unrecognizable from the original, but just giving it that little extra spice and sauce and kick that to make it yours. I think that's perfectly okay, and I think that's just a misconception a lot of people have from the beginning, and shouldn't be frowned upon. All right, we're on the home stretch. We're almost done. One more coming at you, and that is ask questions. Don't be scared to ask questions. There's so many resources out there with forums and communities, and so many people that are just willing to help because this has been around for so long, and people just want to help you get better. So places like r/analog community or r/analog on Reddit, where you can post photos and get critiques and comments and ask questions, is a great place to go. It's where I go for all my kind of film question needs about different gear and cameras and film stocks and why this or this isn't happening. So yeah, don't be scared to ask, and make sure you do, because if you just kind of assume and go for it, you're going to end up losing some money and being more frustrated than happy. So yeah. Alright, as much as I hate to say it, we are nearing the end of the video. It does have to end at some point, but that's all I got to say about it. I hope you can take this information and apply it to your next film journey or wherever you head with it. But this has helped me a lot. I hope it helps you. Again, I hope you all are staying safe, happy, healthy, you're caring about the people around you, and you're staying inside. Other than that, if you have any extra questions or comments, please leave them down below. I'll be more than happy to talk and answer anything. If you can like the video, that'd be great. And that's all I got for you today. I cannot wait to see you again. I've got a lot more ideas coming on the way, but yeah, see you soon.